class. This video is going to demonstrate how to effectively download pictures from pixabay.com for your coffee shop website. Looking for images with the right sizes so that when you go ahead and open them up in Adobe Photoshop that you can crop them in an effective way, both for the tablet desktop view as well as for the smartphone view. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of examples of how to do that, and hopefully that'll clear up any confusion with regards to how to go through this process. And then I'll step into Dreamweaver and show you how you just adjust your code slightly through your .css file so that you can go ahead and test out those banners. So two images. This image was brought to me by a student as well as this image as well, and so I'm just going to use those as examples. So when you come to pixabay.com, you'll go ahead and use search through your own coffee shop images, and you kind of have to just make the decision of what would work best for a desktop view and a tablet view, and also what would work best for a smartphone view. So those kind of things, those decisions you kind of have to make on your own. Through this process, if you want me to look at images and help you go through the cropping process, I will certainly do that as well. So when I click on free download, and you want to make sure again that you see the CC0 Creative Commons. When I click on free download, this is where I have to make the decision of what kind of size I need best. So when we're talking about a desktop, I have the dimensions here, and they're roughly between 950 and the width, and that's what is designed for our CSS layout that we have. So the SU banner for striped umbrella, that's 950 in the width, and then generally you want to go around 120, 140, but you could take that all the way up to say around 300 and you would still be okay. So that's kind of the dimensions that I'm looking at when I grab an image. If I can go ahead and crop it down to that size and still be able to add text to it or whatever else I want to add to it as well. So in the smartphone is the 250 by 80 over 100, and so I'll show you that example as well. So it's kind of you trial and error, and I know that sometimes you don't like to hear that, but sometimes this process just takes some time. So the first time I did this, I downloaded the 1280 by 853 because I thought to myself, well, I need 950 by my width and about, around that 120, 150 for the height. This should work out well. Well, when I went into Photoshop and started cropping it, I cropped it, and then when I went to resize it through the image size, I started to realize, no, this particular size would not work. So then I went and I downloaded it with a larger size of a 1920 by 1280, and then it was more effective. So again, you're going to have to try it out. You're going to have to go ahead and go through the cropping process and see if that particular size will work for you. So let's take this image into Photoshop and let's see how I would go ahead and crop it. So let me go ahead and open that particular image. Is this one right here? So again, okay, so Photoshop, let me back up a little bit on that. If you have the Creative Cloud subscription, you have the subscription to Adobe Photoshop. Okay, you have all of, you should say all of the apps, so you should be able just to download it. So if you have any questions on that, or if it's not showing up, you need to please let me know of your situation. So here is the image. If I click here, you can just see that the image is here and it's raw, and if I go to image and I go to image size, I'm going to see that 1920 by 1280 and height size that I just downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and click on crop, and then I'm going to have my cropping tools. Now what's nice about the cropping tools is I drag it in, I can see the width and the height. So with this particular image, what I wanted to do was leave enough space above the cup so that I could add some text on it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this up because the coffee beans, yep, they add, but I really don't need that many at the bottom. So now I'm sitting at 1920 by 712, which works out fairly well. You kind of have to do some math with this. So once you're done cropping, you go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm going to go up to image and image size, and this is where you find out if your crop actually worked. So I'm going to type in the 950. So I got 950 by 352. I don't know if I want to go that large in the height, so I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to undo the crop. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a try again. So I'm going to try to pull it in a little tighter, maybe a little tighter on the bottom. And now I'm going to crop it, image size, and it's pulling it down a little bit better. I can do a little bit better with that, I think, so I can go ahead and just even crop this as well. So I can continue to pull up a little bit, maybe get it to that 600. Or maybe it's the top that I need to pull down just a little bit. There we go. So closer to the 300 mark. So now I have this image. So inside of Photoshop, what I can do is I can click on the text tool and I can work around with the text color. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to a white. I'm going to pull this over here. So I know that white is this. One more F. Okay, so I got a white font, and then I have to mess around with my font sizes. I can also, down here is your display. So this is really small for me to see. So I'm going to send this up to 75% so that I have a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can collapse this over so you get a little bit better display here for you guys. So with the text tool, and then all I do is just drag wherever I want it on the screen, and then I start typing. So I'm just going to use the generic title of Coffee Shop. You guys come up with a nice name, and then you can mess around with the font sizes as well. So maybe I go to 18 point, I see what it looks like, I can continue to adjust it. Oh, I think maybe I lost it. There we go, just because I had to drag down my borders there. So again, depending on what words you use, depends on what you can, put and where you want it to lay and what image. And so again, just you're going to have to play around with it. So I can use this selection tool up here that'll allow me to drag it around for wherever I need it to be. So if I want it at the top, I can also use my arrow keys to be a little bit more exact so it's not hugging to those guides. So if I need to modify it, I just click on the text tool again. Maybe here I think go a little smaller in font size. Yeah, see if I can type in maybe 22 point, maybe 20 point. And again, it really depends on what letters you're using in that particular. So once you've done that and added some text to your cropped version of your image, then you want to go File and then Save As. And from the Save As type, you want to choose a file type. I say go right for the ping, and I hope you can see that in the bottom of your screen. So go ahead and click on ping, and then you can name it, just name it banner. So BANNER, and then put it in your coffee shop assets folder. And I've already done this process, that's why I'm having to replace it. So I go ahead and I click on OK when these ping options come up, and now I have my banner. So I go ahead and I do the same kind of process through the desktop, or not the desktop, the smartphone, the global view. And this is the image that this particular student had chosen as well. So this one, I go ahead and I crop, same process, bring it in. So maybe just want to focus on the coffee cup being towards the right. And so really think about mobile phones. And so again, that was 250, and if I forgot, I'm going to go back here and look. So 250 by 80 to 100. Back to Photoshop. So if I go at about 500 on the width, when I cut that in half, when I image resize, it's going to be right at that 250. So I'm going to go image, or no, first I got to hit enter, crop it, and then image resize, and then the 250. And so now I have my image that I would use for the global or the smartphone view. And again, I would go ahead and go through the process of adding some text in. Of course, the text isn't going to be as big. Go ahead and enter in that text. And again, you'll have to adjust it. You can drag these borders here. You can change the font color. Here you can use the eyedropper tool. So You can also use the eyedropper tool that allows you to come out of here and select colors from your image. So I'm going to click on the black, and then I'm going to go ahead and click OK, or maybe the red would work. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and click on that. And so now I can see, if I go outside of it, I see what it looks like right here. And again, depending on what words you work with, depends on what you can go ahead and use for font size. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one as well. So save as, and I'm going to save it to that ping format. And this one I'm going to call logo, just because it's a smaller one, and that's kind of how they name things in the book as well. So coffee shop, assets, and then logo. Okay, so now I have my two files. I have my logo.ping and my banner.ping. So if I come over to my coffee shop website and I refresh, I have my banner and my logo. So now to get them into my actual home page or all my other pages as well, I add them through the code. So as I'm scrolling through this CSS_styles file, I'm going to look for header_div. Well, here's the very first one, and this is in the global section. It says mobile layout, and I'm going to change this simply to logo.ping. And as I'm typing it, it actually pops up. So I guess I didn't select it right. Logo. Maybe it's just a display of it. .ping. And so once you've put it in there, and if you hover over it, you should actually see your image. And then I'm going to continue to scroll down, and in my tablet section, I'm going to see another class called header_div, and then here's my banner. So I'm just going to take the SU underscore off of it. Now if I hover over it, it pulls up that banner that I created. So now if I go back to my design view, I see my image, so I'm going to go ahead and close my panels here, and there it is. Now, it's not size the greatest. So here's the other tip. So yes, we got it. It doesn't look perfect. So you have to add this into your CSS code as well. So with this header div. So I'm going to go ahead and go to announcements, because that's what it tells me to do here. See announcements email on background size for a great resource on how to size banners. So I'll go up to announcements, I'll scroll down to find my coffee shop tablet desktop banner. Okay, and I'm going to just copy this. I wonder if I can copy this code here. Not. Okay, so background size, it says 980 pixels by 140. So let's go ahead and give that a try, and maybe we'll change it to 950. So back into code view, and it's actually already there. So I've actually already coded it in there. So 980 pixels, I'm actually going to change this to 950 and just see what it does. It looks a little better. And I think it may just be the display of this. Let's go ahead and open it up in a browser. Yes. So this particular image, I think I would want to play around with a little bit more and crop it a little bit better. I'm not sure why exactly it's pushed over to the right a little bit more, but it might be just the fact that I need to crop this a little better. Let me go ahead and change that code here. What did I have it at? So if I change this to 980, does it get worse is the question. It doesn't change it at all. Okay, so this one, the way I cropped it, I think is the issue, simply because I did this process yesterday and it worked out fine. So if that comes up to you, then you're going to have to go through the process and go ahead and crop again. Let's go ahead and add it as well to, oh well, we already did that, I think, up to the global section. So I'm going to double check. So there's global. So I'm just going to go ahead and resize this window. And you can see as soon as I hit that smaller than tablet 481, now I get into my mobile view. So that's how you're going to go about and test it. Okay, so if you have any questions, if you want me to work with any particular image, go ahead and give it a go before you go ahead and ask me to work with that image, but go ahead and download it, give it a few times of trial and error, and let me know if I can help you in any way. I'd be more than happy to. Thank you for your time.